Or about people online as well. So I think Project 15 is going. This is weather briefing, and we'll have Gabriel Woodhouse here to do it again. And I don't think she's changed her mind. That's it. Like this, you'll see that, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming to this briefing, and I wish you all the very best at these few days. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I have not been able to change the forecasted future amount for the rest ahead. Currently, though, you can see that we've had a bit of a trough that moved through yesterday that got it really weak suddenly. That's moved a bit further north now. There's a little bit of fun associated with that you can see on the left-hand side there, over past the top. Now, at the moment, there is a chance that we could end up seeing a lightning strike in that well offshore. So just want to watch out for the rest of today with that system. But overall, we're looking at fairly benign conditions across the race. So generally some light winds around. There's maybe a couple of knots more than what we were looking at the other day, but realistically not a huge amount more. There is still that chance of a couple of light showers around and maybe even a chance of a thunderstorm well offshore. Warnings be unlikely at this stage. So what we're going to see with this is a couple of troughs that are going to be moving through. So what you can see on these mean sea level pressure analysis charts over the next couple of days is one, that trough that was sitting there this morning weakens out by this evening, and you'll see that there's another front that's moving through later tomorrow, but it's going to be passing to the south and we're going to remain under that ridge. So it means that southerly that arrives later Sunday or Monday, pretty weak by the time it gets up to our area of the world. Then come Tuesday, we start to see that high pressure system move further east. And so that's when we'll start to see those southeasterly winds develop. And that's what I'm really hoping comes in a little bit sooner for you guys, so that you can get a little bit more wind, particularly on Tuesday and Wednesday. So looking at but at the moment, it's just been a little light westerly breeze at the moment. But by about 1 o'clock, we'll see that weaken out and tends probably more north-northeasterly, probably around 5 to 8 knots by about race start. I'm hoping around the 8 knot mark, but it could end up being just around the 5. But once you get out, we're looking at about 8 knots and tending a little bit more northerly. And by later this evening, perhaps a little bit more northwesterly once we get up to parts of the Hunter. Now, with that cloud band that I was pointing to just a little while ago, still the chance of seeing some lightning strikes in and amongst that. But that's going to be really quite a far way offshore at this stage. If we do see any of that develop, then you're not going to be able to have much notice if you do start to see some lightning strikes from that cloud. Now, once we get into Sunday morning, you'll start to see that we get those land breezes developing overnight in the early morning. So more around west to northwesterly, a couple of knots. It seems more likely that we'll see that develop on, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Sea is still going to be relatively low, maybe starting to get, 10 to 12 knots, and particularly if you're already north of the Field Rocks. But further south, you'll still be sitting in a more westerly wind. Now, during the day on Sunday, we start to see those winds increase a little bit, and we may end up seeing the winds, particularly through parts of the Hunter and south of Field Rocks, be a fraction stronger, but not really very strong in the grand scheme of things. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that between about Southwest Rocks and Seal Rocks, inshore is going to be pretty light and variable during the afternoon. So difficult situation, I guess, but by Sunday afternoon, still northerly. If you're up a little bit further north, quite a bit more in terms of some of that wind. And by Sunday night, we'll see that through the Hunter in particular, we'll start to get some stronger winds around. Now, at the moment, there is a little bit of variability in the models for the wind strength that we'll be seeing through the Hunter. It's possible that we could see that get up to 20 or maybe even 22, 23, 24 knots on Sunday night and early Monday morning. Further north, though, is still going to be more northerly and along the mid-north coast. Not so great deal of wind strength, but a bit further north, we're looking at 10 to 15 knots, maybe getting up to 20 knots offshore. So a little bit more wind than what we were looking at earlier, but in the grand scheme of things, only a few knots. So looking at Monday, looking at some of those model comparison maps from some of the global models, you can see that there's really good agreement in these models with that ridge of high pressure pretty much right across the northern parts of New South Wales and southeast Queensland. But there is that slightly windier front moving across the far south. And depending on just how far north that gets, that's where we'll pick up a little bit more wind with that, along with the chance of a thunderstorm as well. So Monday, down south, we're looking at west to southwesterly, maybe getting up to 20 knots in the far south. Along parts of the mid-north coast, it's going to be quite light and variable. Further north, northeast to northwesterly, and 10 to 15 knots, hopefully. Maybe a spot of 20 knots far offshore, but it's a bit hit and miss at the moment from what I can see in the models. Now, during the day on Monday, we will see that southerly change move up, so we'll start to see winds turn more southerly. At the moment, it looks as though we could see some pockets of 15 or maybe even 18 knots getting up parts of the mid-north coast. And that's going to be during the middle part of the day. By the afternoon, a bit weaken out, and those winds turn more southeasterly. So with that, winds are going to be dropping off by Monday night, very light and variable, and that's where we'll be looking at those land breezes developing overnight, but more so during early Tuesday morning. So Charles and Tuesday, same sort of a story, really good model consistency for what I'm seeing. And it's just a matter of exactly where that high is as to when we'll see those southeasterly winds start to develop. But for the most part, morning, we'll see those winds increase a little bit during the day and turn to be a little bit more southeasterly, 10 to 15 knots on the northern part of the New South Wales coast from the afternoon. And then by Tuesday night, you'll see along the southeast Queensland, looking at southeast winds about 10 to 15 knots. Could only be about 12 or 13 knots, but I wanted to give you a little bit more hope. Further south, there's a much lighter and variable wind, particularly inshore. Now, come Wednesday, we see that high as well as really over the Tasman Sea, and we can see another front that's moving in parts of the Bight and the Southern Ocean there. And that's where you can see the sort of green and blue winds in that really tight spacing of the isobar. So that is going to be coming through during Thursday and Friday. So that might be already up in Queensland headed south, one to watch out for, because we could end up seeing some strong winds develop. But for the most part, it does mean that those winds are going to become quite light and variable, and along the New South Wales coast start to turn a little bit more northerly during the day. So when we get to Thursday, you can see that system moves a little bit further east. And by Friday, this is where we start to get a little bit more variability in some of those models. But considering that we're talking to 6 days out, these kind of model consistencies could be excellent. So for what I'm seeing at the moment, see that change come through. Maybe see some strong winds associated and some increase in northerly winds on the northern part of the New South Wales coast. But in towards southeast Queensland, we'll see that it's become a little bit more light and variable, but parts of it may end up being a little bit more southeasterly. And as we move into Saturday, for those that are still around, it's a bit of a picture as to exactly where that trough's going to be, as to what kind of wind regime you might be in, whether it's going to be northerly or southerly. But for those that are headed further north, you are looking at some nice southeasterly winds. So pretty decent. For if you're going further north up through Queensland, with a solid 10 to 20 knots and potentially getting up to 25 knots next weekend. So depending on when you get into the Gold Coast, we are looking at a few showers around. We're also looking at the chance of some thunderstorms over the water. So at the moment, the chance of those storms really quite a low chance, but not zero, unfortunately. Offshore for later tonight, but also during Monday and Tuesday. So at the moment, I'm looking at a few showers around the Gold Coast, particularly from Tuesday, but also during Wednesday at this stage. Currents, not much has changed in these. We still have the stronger current down from Point Danger, and that's second current along the mid-north coast there, but it does sort of weaken up a little bit during the seas. Sea surface temperatures, pretty much average for this time of year, so it's been around 19 to 22 degrees along the coast. So along the New South Wales coast, it's around 19 to 20, and once you start to get up into the northern parts of New South Wales, it's sitting around 19, 20, 21, and once you get into southeast Queensland, getting up to about 21 or 22 degrees. So reasonably warm, but still cold nonetheless. So that's going to be overnight temperatures are going to be hovering around 18 degrees or so if you're well offshore. If you're inshore and picking up that land breeze, it is unfortunately going to be quite cool as we see those land breezes develop, as the minimum temperature on the land can be significantly cooler. So looking at tides, just a little reminder around the high tide and low tide and the fact that we're moving towards those tides increasing over the next few days. The next full moon is on Wednesday. So looking at some of our chart based on the latest access sort of input into the wave tide heights, you can see that the sea level is going to become the difference between high tide and low tide is going to increase over the next few days. And we'll see those high tides remain a little bit below the high astronomical tide, but it is still going to be quite a tidal range. So just to summarise, we're looking at reasonably benign conditions. One thing to note is the risk of some thunderstorms offshore at times. So at the moment, really low risk for later today offshore, but that risk increases on Monday and Tuesday as we see that next change move further north. And you'll see some of those storms potentially develop with that southerly as it moves north. So you will be able to see it arrive from the south. And that's about it that I have. If you've got any questions, please yell out. And I hope you have a really great race and you get to see some lovely sights along the coast.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. That's great. I mean, something better than earning that. Good luck, everyone. Have a good race. And thanks, Bon, as well, for what you've done. Check those videos to us. Thank you so much. See you on the water.